Hello, welcome everybody. I'm Jev, yes, Triple V. The accent, by the way, is purely Kiwi. I read old stories for children, so we keep this a family-friendly channel by having bad word blockers, banning bots, and preventing spam, so that means new followers need to wait a few minutes before they can join in the chat. Since these stories are so old, they're now in the public domain, which means they are free to read for anyone and by anyone, the way many Christmas songs are. The digital versions I read are from Project Gutenberg, and you'll find the link for that below. The physical ones are just old books my family has lying around. Sometimes I'll even show them to you. These, by the way, are live reads. Think of them as bedtime stories rather than actual audiobooks. You get the benefits of my mistakes, distractions, explanations, and terrible attempts at accents, along with plenty of chat and interruptions as we find out about things in the story. If you need to do work or chores, then that's fine. Just come and lurk. Please adjust your volume to suit. There are captions available if you have to be quiet or you have hearing challenges, but be warned, sometimes the captions aren't always that accurate. I am a member of the Codex, an awesome group of reading streamers on Twitch. People from many walks of life who share their love of reading, and you'll find links to the Codex reading team and our Discord server below. A special feature of the Codex Discord is the security channel for those of you who stream or moderate. You'll find lots of practical, useful information to help keep your stream and your community safe. So, hang around and come discover adventure with me. You never know what we'll find.
Hello, everybody. I'm here, and so are you. Isn't that good? Lovely to see you again. We are reading the Bobbsey Twins still. It may or may not be the last read we do of this particular book. I'm not sure. I don't know how close we are to the end because I don't actually remember. I don't think I looked at that information last time. Naughty. But I did afterwards do a calculation that said it should be uninterrupted reading about 100 minutes, because for me, the format of my ebook that I'm reading, it's about a page a minute if I'm reading at my normal fairly rapid reading pace. I'm just going to turn off that graphic there. Just a moment. That one is there, because otherwise it takes up too much room in the corner of the screen. Yes, I know there's all that black there. That's actually not black. It's a very, very dark purple, because it's a blanket that's hanging over another one of those clothes racks, just to form a little bit of a barrier to whatever's beyond it, which usually is too much light, because there's a ceiling which is white and it reflects all the light that's in the room downstairs. And it just causes webcams to freak out. Yes, I know, because when I very first started, I had a small cardboard box with a little lampshade on it that wasn't attached to a lamp, and I balanced my old C270 Logitech webcam on the rim of that lamp, because it needed a bit that went down the back. That's why I used this lampshade, because it was an open space. And I had my chair over on the other side with my back to that space, and the lighting was not great. So that was, after a while, I actually sort of moved around to being oriented this way, and eventually actually putting a screen up behind me, and it's made a huge difference to how the lighting works. If you are a streamer and you have difficulty with getting the lighting to work well for you, see if you can find a way to put something behind you that just evens out the lighting, rather than having a window or some other bright light source behind you, or doing what I've got and having something really dark. Actually, you'll stand out better if you've got something dark behind you than if you've got something light. But one of the easy things to use is going to somewhere that sells cheap things and buying one of those really, really cheap tubular clothes racks where you put coat hangers on it with clothing hanging on it. So it's like a little mini wardrobe thing. And lots of places do them as a really budget item for people who are going flatting or don't have much money and they are now in a new apartment or something like that. I cobbled this one together from broken pieces of one that had been left behind by a flatmate years ago, and then just stuck an extra stick along the top, because mine is a wee way back from me, so it needs to be a bit wider to work. Unfortunately, I haven't got it quite reaching at that end these days because my camera is set to a different distance. But there you go. There's tips for you. And the other one is, if you want to, thank you for that, Goreki. If you want to do green screen work and you are using OBS, easy to do green screen in OBS. Wow, there's a lot of those ones in there. Well done, Goreki. He's just running a bot list, and as the streamer and any moderator can see, there's a few of them have been banned. Thank you. That's excellent.
It's not been debranded yet.
No. I'm just wondering if the back of it will show.
That's what I was thinking too.
So this is today's energy drink, mystery energy drink, which is obviously a green can. Speaking of green screens, whoopsie. Speaking of green screens, you can see a little bit of the image there. PJ's safety singlet is green screening out.
Yeah.
Yes. And so we have a white label,
and then only reason I decided to
I know.
Into shops.
And then we have more illustration on this side. I picked this up yesterday when we were doing grocery shopping. It's a parallel import, so it's got a paper label on the back saying what the ingredients and values are on it, because there's a requirement for if the format of ingredients on a brand for a consumable item is not the format we use in New Zealand, then whoever's importing it needs to actually put it in the format that is required in New Zealand as an after add-on to the container, so that we can still find out what we need to find out, which is excellent. So this is a brand I haven't been able, it's a brand that I do actually regularly get when it's on special, but it's a flavour that I don't know if I've had it before when I've been streaming. If I did, it was a while ago, but it's a flavour that's not generally available in my supermarket. Doesn't mean it's not available in New Zealand, it just means that my local supermarket does not stock it. Yes, there are 3 supermarkets, 3 different companies in the town where I go grocery shopping. There's a mini supermarket along the road that's a sub-chain of one of them. But there's one that I regularly go to. The others I only go to if I can't get something and I really need it. And they're likely to have it because they have different suppliers. So this flavour is called Rio Punch. If anyone else has had that before, you'll be able to tell me if it's any good. Of course, on the neck of the can it says vitamins and taurine, and L-carnitine and B vitamins and taurine, energy drinks, and it will also have caffeine in it. Reading the label, Brazil does it big. It's home to over lightish green with we have not put paint on this. Writing sort of thing, like the bit that doesn't have any paint on it. It's a bit hard to read with my eyesight, so I'm going to put my hand over the label and read it this way, over my glasses because I'm short-sighted. Brazil does it big. It's home to over 70% of all fruits ever known. Home to. Does that mean that's where they all come from? I don't think so. Apples. Stone fruit. Stone fruit is cold climate, not warm climate. Currants are cold climate, not warm climate. Brazil is known for being warm climate. I guess I'm just going to read it. I don't know if it's fact or fiction. Throw in the world's largest party, Carnival in Rio de Janeiro, and you get some epic inspiration. Punch, Monster Rio Punch is a totally new taste sensation blend of exotic fruit flavours with a hint of spice that's fully loaded with our world famous blah 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 brand energy blend. From the shore of Copacabana Beach to the top of Sugarloaf Mountain, Rio Punch will have you partying into the night. Well, this sounds like it's going to be an interesting stream today, doesn't it? Unleash the beast. Anyway, so 6% blended fruit energy drink, apple, white grape, and other fruits. So, looking for other information. Caffeine, 75 milligrams per serving, 150 per can, which is about the same as decent coffee. I don't know why people are like freaking out about them. As long as you're sensible with what you drink, the quantities that you drink, then it's not a problem. I'm just getting my water bottles out because we have bits of loose hair. We have snow. I shall put these where I can reach them. And we have shame. I didn't top that one up actually because we didn't use it very much. And we have, put that lid back down, we have Ghost. I'm thinking that Ghost is going to get a little bit more usage in this part of the book. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm just going to put my not sponsored sleeve, except for via Jev, over this drink so that I can drink it when I'm ready. Oh, thank you for the follow. That's lovely to have you here. I thought I changed that. So it says there, chat quarantine's only 10 minutes, so grab your drinks, snacks, and get comfy. Now, I'm pretty sure, I thought I had removed the chat quarantine's only 10 minutes. Anyway, welcome. Thank you for the follow. I am going to be reading some really old kids' books, one really old kids' book very, very shortly after I finish my general ramble, which I always start off with. Let's have a tip video so you know a little bit more about what sort of things to do to make the most of your time here. And then from there, we'll go on to the rest. Who have we got today for our tips video? I just have to unmute myself. So if you were enjoying that music, it's actually available free to be used as long as you acknowledge, you credit the creator, who is Wintergarten, Gatan, and they have several pieces of music that you can use for purposes like my tip video background, things like that. That particular piece is called Moon and Star, and the creditation for that particular piece, they've got several different labels that they use. They usually all have Wintergarten in the name, but that one is Wintergarten Build Tracks. So there you go. And you can look them up somewhere. Anyway, so news on my part is I have some emery boards. Why? Just keep waiting and you'll find out. Keep listening. Hopefully I'll be able to get into this before we get too far through the ad. We have some clear glue that is not water-based, very important. And we have a bunch of craft tweezers, and especially including ones which have a very fine point. Put it over my face so you can see it, or I don't know, somewhere. And ones with angled tips on them, so that things can be held on to. There's even one where it is closed unless you squeeze it. Clever. You can have it as a second set of hands, I guess. So I'll put those in there, so especially so that that doesn't get squished, because that goes everywhere if you squeeze the tube accidentally. The reason I have those and the emery boards is because I now have received the Bookhouse craft project, which I shall be doing for my anniversary of my first stream someday. I'm not sure which, because we're going to finish the book that we're currently reading, the Bobbsey Twins, or Merry Days Indoors and Out. That's the first book in the Bobbsey Twins series by Laura Lee Hope, but published by, organised by Stratemeyer Syndicate. Once we've finished that book, whether it's one stream or two streams, then I will be probably depending on somewhere along the way. I'm probably going to be away for one stream day, just because we have a local friend who's also a streamer and have known them for more than all their life. Actually, I've known their parents for a lot longer than I've known them, actually. Lives not nearby, but kind of nearby, and they have one of their online streaming friends who they often stream with is actually in New Zealand at the moment, and so they're hanging out together and going and visiting places, and unfortunately having to figure out where the current cyclone which is bearing down on us is going to be when the days that they were going to do a trip further down country to visit certain things like Hobbiton. You know, people come to New Zealand and one of the things they want to do is go to visit Hobbiton. Places like that, trying to reschedule that so it fits in around the storm before the friend has to go back home to the States, I think. So PJ and I are going to be hanging out with them for a day and going and visiting some other things which PJ and this New Zealand friend had originally wanted to do many years ago when they were both kids and we were homeschooling, but we live out of the area for where this thing is, so we didn't actually ever do it because a lot of us are not very good at organizing. Anyway, so after we finish the book and do that missed stream with them, I am planning to do the anniversary of my first stream and start crafting this. I haven't even opened it. If we finish the book before the end of stream today, I will actually open it and show you the flat pack pieces for it. I'm looking forward to it because the one that I originally ordered is going to not be here until May or June, which is why I cancelled that order. And this one actually looks like it's more. They're still not scaled well, but it's got more individual book pieces instead of just little boxes that you fold up that have a print of the back of a whole lot of books on it, that sort of thing. So it looks a little bit more convincing. I'd like to do a bunch of these actually and have them in the background, different book themed miniatures. Not expensive, the ones that I want to do. There's one that I really want to do that Goriki has actually suggested, and it's on my throne wish list, and that's one that I can't just go out and buy at the moment because I can't afford to do it. But if we get contributions for it, or if it suddenly takes off here and we get lots of subs coming and things like that, that's the sort of thing that sometimes I will put some stream money towards. Anyway, so that's enough of that. I'm looking forward to opening that up and showing you the bits and pieces, and it's like you're going to look at these. It's laser cut thin plywood is the base of what the pieces are, and so I've got a craft knife here with a retractable blade, and I've got glue, I've got tweezers for putting things into place because sometimes fingers are a bit fat, all that sort of stuff. But when you get those sort of kits, it's a little bit like making a plastic aeroplane, an aeroplane kit or a boat kit or something, when they're plastic ones, and they will have the pieces all molded and they're held together in a sprawl, which is the little frame that the pieces are cast as part of. Well, the plywood models are done the same way, except instead of casting, you have a sheet of plywood and the laser cutter will cut everything out except for little tiny tabs that hold it together in the frame. And they leave it all together in that so that they can stack them all together, put them in a box and ship them to you without everything being broken. And it's actually a very efficient way of doing it. I quite like the fact that they've used that technology and their thinking to make it work. Anyway, so there's that's going on. I've got my drink hand. Oh, I do have some treats. I'm just going to open this so I can have a taste. Should I have shaken it? Hope not. I'm just going to see if I can move it around a little bit in the can. Excuse me. Oh, that's quite nice. I'm trying to figure out I can't look at the label. I can't look at the label to see what's in it. I was going to try and see what it said was the spice. I'm not going to worry about that now. Other things that I picked up. I'm going to show you a glimpse and then take it away. There you go, brand. Oh, good. Good. He says, to my knowledge, only their coffees suggest gentle shake. Yeah, because most of the others have a little bit of fizz to them, and you don't really want to be shaking those. So what you saw a glimpse of is a brand. I will speak the name, but I'm not showing you the brand any further than that, is Jolly Rancher, which is not a normal brand in New Zealand. It's an American brand, I think, because we have enough lolly brands in New Zealand anyway. But they had at one of the stores, the place I got the drink from, Jolly Rancher gummies, and because they were close to date or on date, they were a lot cheaper than normal. So I thought, I've heard of them. I've never had them before. I'm not likely to have the hard ones because I do know they do hard ones. They're no good for my teeth. No, it's not normal in America either unless you're under 12. What's not normal? What did I say? I must have said something that referenced normal or not normal. My brain is just not braining very well at all today. Jolly Ranchers. Okay, yeah. So I wanted to see what they tasted like because I've had other things. Yes, brain definitely sometimes goes. Because I've had other gummy lollies. There's one particular brand I really want to try sometime. I saw that they have been sold by my favourite online department store that's based in New Zealand, but they don't have them these days. And why do I say gummies? Because those are the style of lollies I tend to like the most. There's something about the chewy texture. And yes, I know that they have there's a variety of chewiness with different gummy lollies. I don't like the really hard ones, the tough, chewy ones. I know a lot of people love Haribo. I don't. They're too tough. I don't enjoy them. If I have too many, my jaw starts to ache because you're chewing so hard. And they're really a bit of a cheat anyway because it's just normal gummy lollies that they've allowed to air dry for longer, and that's why they're chewier. There's no extra pleasure in them being that tough, honestly. And I have had a few of them because we used to have students from Germany, and they would often bring gummy bears, the Haribo gummy bears, over as a gift to us. Their brand, I mean, they were nice, but I wouldn't go out of my way to buy them, put it that way. The German ones are usually referred to as Goldie Bar, meaning golden bear. So what we have in these, see if, oh, I did eat the last one of that one. It comes with 2 mini packs. Oh, there's another one still in here. 2 half packs. The quantity in that box, which is kind of semi-heart shaped, but it's a square box behind it, has 2 packets inside it so that you can open them up and not actually have all of them out at once. There are 5 flavors. There is blue, probably raspberry, that just still does not make sense, grape, watermelon, and cherry, which actually looks a little bit sus. Cherries, when they're done in one solid block like that, always look a little bit sus. I'm sorry, I grew up on male-dominated work sites, so I'm very aware of a lot of things that I don't directly talk about. A lot more aware than a lot of other girls are, I can tell you. It was quite funny being at technical college. Community college, I think the Americans call them. An old meme-like adventure would be to read the Amazon reviews of sugar-free gummy bears and bulks. Oh, yes. Those are hilarious. Those are absolutely hilarious. So I'll tell you what those flavors are meant to be. The one that I no longer have in that half packet, I have another half packet in here, by the way, was green apple, which was okay. Green apple's never been a favorite lolly flavor for me. Blue raspberry, I remembered correctly. Cherry, grape, and watermelon. There you go. What was I going to say? I was going to say something about them. These have a different texture to New Zealand gummies. They also have a different texture to the Haribo ones. They're not the springy sort of gummy. They're more of a gluey gummy. I don't know if anyone knows what I mean by that, but they have that sort of effect as a texture, and they do get stuck to your teeth a lot more than the other ones. Anyway, so there you go. So I have snacks. That was what that was all about, is I have snacks. Oh, goodness. Let's get this started and see if we can actually finish this story today. So we've got enough time for me to open up that craft box. Chapter 15, The Children's Party. So remember, this is the first book of the Bobbsey Twins, so it's a lot more just incidental activities that they are involved with, as I referred to on my social post, that they are mini adventures. But they're probably still all in wintertime, which is why the word snow has been so much a key to the story so far. And one of the other popular words was ghost, but we haven't really had it as often as I would expect, so let's just keep an eye out for it now. The Children's Party. The little black kitten that Freddie had brought home from the department store was a great friend to everybody in the Bobbsey house, and all loved the little creature very much. At first, Freddie started to call the kitten Blackie, but Flossie said that wasn't a very aristocratic name at all, meaning aristocratic, because Flossie's heard big words but not particularly good at them yet. I'll tell you what, said Bert jokingly, let's call him Snoop. And in spite of all efforts to make the name something else, Snoop the cat remained from that time to the day of his death. Now, one of the odd things about the Bobbsey Twins is that through the series of books, there are two pets. There's a cat and there's a dog. Snoop is one of them. And the dog, I think its gender and its name gets changed repeatedly, even though it's technically the same dog. The cat gets its gender changed once and then back again. I think that's it. The cat somehow seems to be the one that's the most stable. So there are sometimes continuity errors in these Stratemeyer Syndicate books, especially the earlier ones. But I'm not going to worry about it too much because they didn't have the ability to plug it into a word processor and go search and make sure that they had all the references exactly the same, unlike us. So the cat got called Snoop and remained that from that time to the day of his death. He grew which that's not foreshadowing, that's just saying that the cat stayed called Snoop, even though it was meant to be a temporary joke name. He grew very fat and just a trifle lazy. Nevertheless, he learned to do several tricks. Now, I am going to drink deeply of the shame bottle because cats, they like sleeping because they are, when they're awake, they are very, very, very aware and alert. They are taking in signals all the time, all the sounds, all the smells, all the sights, everything all the time, and their existence relies on them staying hyper aware. So when that then is actually very, very tiring if you've ever tried being hyper aware because of trauma or something like that. Yeah, it's exhausting. He grew very fat. Well, cats are opportunists, aren't they? Especially if the cat was a stray. Most cats that were strays that get adopted end up being a little bit overweight, and also people, when they think an animal is cute, tend to give it more treats. So yeah, I'm going to drink the shame bottle for this depiction of the cat because I think it's a little bit unfair. Sorry. Peanut butter on my toast today, and I think I just found a little piece of peanut. Right. Here we go. He was very fat and just a trifle lazy. Nevertheless, he learned to do several tricks. He could sit up in a corner on his hind legs and shake hands, and when told to do so, would jump through one's arms, even if the arms were quite high from the floor. Yes, you can train cats, and most people don't realise that you can because they're not consistent enough with their training. We have a cat that will sit. He's not always willing to, but he knows that if I say sit before I give him his dinner, he won't get the dinner until after he's been sitting and stayed sitting. So yes, and that's because when my daughter got him, she treated him as we had treated our puppy dog when we first had him, tightly trained. And so she did the same with the cat and proved that yes, you can do that with cats, but you've got to be really consistent. So let's carry on. Hang on, I'm just checking something here. Stop that. My tablet sometimes does things differently to what my phone or my PC do. And because I don't do lots of computing on the tablet, it's not quite as intuitive to deal with it. Right, we'll carry on. Snoop had one comical trick that always made both Flossie and Freddie laugh. There was running water in the kitchen, and that is commented on because back in the day, it was not common to have, in this era, not everybody had running water in the house where you could turn a tap on and water would come out of the tap. You might have a pump, which means you had to draw water from a well or a water supply by pumping the handle, but it wasn't just turn it and the water comes. Or you had to go somewhere to get water to bring it to the house and bring it inside the house. So that's hence the running water in the kitchen. So it's quite fancy. And Snoop loved to sit on the edge of the sink and play with the drops as they fell from the bottom of the faucet. He would watch until a drop was just falling and then reach out with his paw and give it a claw, just as if he was reaching for a mouse. Another trick he had, but Mrs. Bobbsey did not think so nice, was to curl himself on the pillow of one of the beds and go sound asleep. Whenever he heard Mrs. Bobbsey coming up one pair of stairs, he would fly off the bed and sneak down the other pair so that she caught him but rarely. So there's 2 sets of stairs in the house. Snoop was a very clean cat and was continually washing his face and his ears. Around his neck, Flossie placed a blue ribbon, and it was amusing to see Snoop try to wash it off. But after a while, having spoilt several ribbons, he found they would not wash off, and so he let them alone, and in the end appeared very proud of his ribbons. One day when Snoop had been in the house but a few months, he could not be found anywhere. Interesting. The author has just rediscovered the phrase, but a few, because we've had that already in this one chapter, I'm sure. It's not something you hear commonly used, but I'm hyper aware of it now because they've just used it more than once. He could not be found anywhere. Snoop, Snoop, called Freddie, upstairs and down, but the kitten did not answer, nor did he show himself. Then Flossie called him and made a search, but was equally unsuccessful. Maybe somebody has stolen him, said Freddie soberly, because he feels like it's his cat, having rescued him, or the cat rescuing him. Nobody has been here to steal the kitten. Trying to turn the page, answered Dinah. He just sneaked off, that's all. All of the children had been invited to a party that afternoon, and Nan was going to wear her new set of furs. After having her hair brushed and putting on a white dress, Nan went to the closet in which her furs were kept in the big box. Well, I never, she exclaimed. Oh, Snoop, however could you do it? For there, curled up on the set of furs, was the kitten, purring as contentedly as could be. Never before had he found a bed so soft or so to his liking. But Nan made him rouse up in a hurry, and after that, when she closed the closet, she made quite sure that Snoop was not inside. The party to be held that afternoon was at the home of Grace Levine, the little girl who had fainted from so much rope jumping. Grace was over that attack and was now quite certain that when her mamma told her to do a thing or to leave it alone, it was always for her own good. "Mamma knows best," she said to Nan. "I didn't think so then, but I do now." The party was a grand affair, and over 30 young people were present, all dressed in their best. They played all sorts of games, such as many of my readers must already know, because she's writing currently. Actually, it's probably Edward Stratemeyer himself with the first book. Whoever's writing this is writing about the time period that the readers are currently in. And then some new games which the big boys and girls introduced. One game was called Hunt the Beans. Hunt the Beans. A handful of dried beans were hidden all over the rooms, in out-of-the-way corners, behind the piano, in vases, and like that. That would be empty vases, or vases that do not have water in. You would not put a dry bean in a vase full of water. Hunt the Thimble is a little bit along this idea, except instead of a whole lot of them, there's only the one. I think that's the one I'm thinking of. And like that. And at the signal to start, every girl and boy started to pick up as many as could be found. The search lasted just 5 minutes, and at the end of that time, the one having the most beans won the game. That makes sense. "Now, let us play 3-word letters," said Nan, and then she explained the game. "I will call out a letter, and you must try to think of a sentence of 3 words, each word starting with that letter. Now then, are you ready?" "Yes, yes," the girls and boys cried. "B, bananagrams." "Oh, is that what bananagrams is? Excellent." "B," said Nan. There was a second of silence. "Boston baked beans," shouted Charlie Mason. "That's right, Charlie. Now it's your turn to give a letter." "F," said Charlie. "5 fat fairies," cried Nellie Parks. "4 fresh fish," put in another of the girls. Trademark it. "Nellie has it," said Charlie, "but I never heard of fat fairies, did you?" And this question made everybody laugh. "My letter is M," said Nellie after a pause. "More minced mushrooms," said Bert. "More mean men," said another boy. "Mind my mule," said one of the girls. "Oh, Helen, I didn't know you had a mule," cried Flossie, and this caused a wild shriek of laughter. Another one where there's a picture. There's not many pictures in this book. There's 2. And they're all sitting around a table. I think they've got streamers and stuff going from the light fitting out to the side of the room. Someone's got a party hat on. There's plants up near the camera. I don't know why. But they're all sitting around a table eating food. Tiny. Yeah, absolutely tiny. Normally, I can get it to pop out, or I can stretch it. But this particular book, it's probably been processed quite a long time ago, and so it doesn't have those more modern features. Anyway, so here we go. "Mind my mule," said one of the girls. "Oh, Helen, I didn't know you had a mule," cried Flossie, and this caused a wild shriek of laughter. "Bert must love mushrooms," said Nellie. "I do," said Bert, "if they're in a sauce." And then the game went on until somebody suggested something else. At 7 o'clock, a supper was served. The tables were 2 in number. There were 2 tables, with the little girls and boys at one and the big girls and boys at the other. Each was decked out with flowers and with coloured streamers, which ran down from the chandelier to each corner of both tables. There was a host of good things to eat and drink, chicken sandwiches and cake, with cups of sweet chocolate or lemonade, and then more cake and ice cream and fruit and nuts and candy. The ice cream was done up into various fancy forms, and Freddie got a fireman. I've never heard of ice cream like this before, with a trumpet under his arm. And is this ice cream? And Nan, a Japanese lady with a real paper parasol over her head. Bert was served with an automobile. It is ice cream because they said served with. And Flossie cried with delight when she received a brown and white cow that looked as natural as life. All of the forms were so pleasing that the children did not care to eat them until the heat in the delighted dining room made them begin to melt away. I'm guessing that these are like mini cake molds type of thing that you push the ice cream into and refreeze it, and then you pop them out. Like we would these days with chocolate molds for making chocolates and candies and stuff like that. Usually a lot of the modern ones are actually silicone molds, so they're quite flexible, so it's easy to get things out of them. But I would guess that that's what these are, because I can't see an upright figure of a Japanese woman holding a parasol over her shoulder doing particularly well in ice cream. I'm thinking it's bas relief sort of pressed sawdust. Thank you, Guriki, for that wonderful vote of confidence with their party food. Anyway, so I'm going to tell Dinah about the ice cream cow, said Flossie. Perhaps she can make them. But when appealed to, the cook said they were beyond her and must be purchased from the professional ice cream maker who had the necessary forms. There you go, molds or forms. There were dishes full of bonbons on the tables that would be wrapped lollies or sweets, and soon the bonbons were snapping. Bonbons? No, these sound more like crackers to me. Soon the bonbons were snapping at a lively rate among the bigger girls and boys, although the younger folks were rather afraid of them. Yes, these are the same as Christmas crackers, the ones where you pull them. And yes, they do look like bonbon sweets, the ones that are wrapped with the twists at the end. Earlier version. Each bonbon had, I didn't remember that they were called these things actually. Each bonbon had a motto paper in it and some sort of fancy article made of paper. Bert got an apron, which he promptly pinned on, much to the amusement of the girls. Nan drew a workman's cap and put it on, randomly. And this caused another laugh. There were all sorts of caps, hats and aprons, and one big bonbon, which went to Flossie, had a complete dress in it of pink and white paper. Another had some artificial flowers, and still another, a tiny bottle of cologne. Not out of paper then. While the supper was going on, Mr. Levine had darkened the parlour and stretched a sheet over the folding doors, and as soon as the young people were through eating, they were treated to a magic lantern exhibition by the gentleman of the house and one of the big boys who assisted him. There were all sorts of scenes, including some which were very funny and made the boys and girls shriek with laughter. One was a boy on a donkey, and another, two fat men trying to climb over a fence. Then came a number of pictures made from photograph negatives showing scenes in and around Lakeport. There were the lake steamer and the main street, and one picture of the girls and boys rushing out of school at dinner time. The last was voted the best of all, and many present tried to pick themselves out of this picture, and did so. It's an excellent way to do it, actually. So, yeah, modern reference is snap bonbons. Or, if you're in England, Christmas crackers. I actually still have some downstairs. Yeah, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. I actually have a box of some downstairs because when I used to have access to a commercial food supplier, they used to do some extra bits and pieces at Christmas time, and I was able to get a box about this big full of them. And because they're made out of a lightweight cardboard tube, which then has paper over them with the ends tied, and they have a little wee paper snap, which has a tiny little spot of like gunpowder on it, and another bit that will activate it, a little bit like the old cap guns had the little caps. That sort of compound on it, where these two pieces of paper were overlapping each other but bound together tightly, and when you pull the two ends, it goes snap or pop. Then those are inside these paper bonbons, which go bang. Gestures, definitely. I'm sorry, I'm probably gesturing wrong things. This is a Nana-friendly site. This is a Nana-friendly channel, and it is purely what I am talking to you about, not anything else that might be in your dirty little minds. Go and wash them out with soap. Right, let's carry on. So snap bonbons, also known as Christmas crackers. After the so the magic lanterns is like we would talk about having a slideshow, but these days, if you're these days, old days, but not as old as the book, you would have slides. These days we have pictures on our computers or on our phones. You used to take, instead of a photo, you would take a slide and you would get them processed, and then it was a little wee cardboard or plastic frame which had like a photographic negative, except it was a positive. It was the actual colours you were going to see. You'd put it into a slide projector. It would shine light through it, and that image would be shining against the wall or the screen that you were displaying it on. And so Magic Lantern was a very, very early version of that sort of thing. But you could buy the glass slides with amusing pictures on or inspiring pictures on, landscapes in different places, dramatic mountains and things like this. And that was the way they were done. In my day with slides, they were always photographs that you had taken or someone in the family had taken. They were always pictures that somebody had taken that you knew. They were not ones that you bought. Although I do remember when I was about 8 or 10, we were on a school trip somewhere, and we were in a very touristy place, even though it was not tourist season. And in the souvenir shop, you could actually buy a little mini set of slides of some of the really unusual things that were at this place, so that you could show them in case you didn't have the ability to take photographs or slides yourself, or on the day that you were there, you weren't actually able to get a good picture of those things. So they were done as for sale, but not commonly for long after the time I was around. Hi, Joltair, great to have you here. Lovely to see you again. So yeah, that's what the Magic Lantern pictures are. They're projecting them onto a sheet because most people don't have a slide projector screen. After the exhibition was over, one of the largest of the girls sat down to the piano and played. By this time, some of the older folks drifted in and they called for some singing, and all joined in half a dozen songs that were familiar to them. Then the young folks ran off for their coats and caps and wraps and bid their host and hostesses and each other good night. He's done a clip of how not to gesture on stream. I've got a fairly clear idea of what it was that I was gesturing, and also what it was meant to be. Wasn't it splendid, said Nan on the way home. I never had such a good time before. Didn't last half long enough, said Freddie. Want it to last longer next time? I wanted my cow to last longer, said Flossie. Oh, if only I could have kept it from melting. It wouldn't have been special after a while if that was the case. And that's the end of the chapter. I'm going to have a mouthful of coffee and maybe one of my Jolly Rancher gummies. No, I won't. They'll get stuck in my teeth. Oh, Joltair is going to remind me that it's a good time to stretch. Oh, that cat was having a nice, satisfying stretch. So let's all stretch our hands and our shoulders. Push your neck back as hard as you can while you're pushing your arms forward, and then pull your shoulders back and push your head forward. So you're doing the opposite movement each way. Yeah. And I know we've got an ad break, but that's okay. You can still stretch. And don't forget to do head turns, because if you only hold your head, unless you have problems with it, in which case you know not to do this. If you don't have problems with it, but you find you have a stiff neck, you need to stretch the muscles in it. That includes turning your head as far as it will comfortably go and holding it a while, and then doing it the other way, and doing that more than once. Because what it does is it starts to loosen up those muscles that you have tightened when you are focusing on something for too long. Yes, let's find out again that we probably all have hypermobility. That's the one. This thing and this thing. So one that I find really useful, and it's from having had some physical therapy because I strained some muscles in the back of my shoulders and neck from carrying something heavy for too long that was on my shoulders. But I was given some really useful exercises for it. And one of those is, preferably when you're standing up, but I have my version that I do when I'm sitting down, is you hold your hands together behind your back and you push downwards with them, like you're putting your arms into a V shape, and let your shoulders pull back because you're pushing down on your hands. And that helps to open up your chest, because otherwise it's all tight across the front. Yes, you're seeing my loadable shirt logo. That's fine. And just hold on to that for a while and relax in that shape. And then once you've done that for a bit, you turn your head to one side and hold it, and you'll feel the tightness. Don't do it till it hurts. Just do it so you can get to where it's tight. Keep your head pushed around that far, unless you have mobility issues with it, and you know that, so you won't do it. Hold it there, and you'll find that after a while it starts to feel less tight at that point. You can let yourself turn your head just a little bit more into it, and then you come back and you relax again, and then you do it the other way. I'm talking you, but it's an actual fact, this is what I'm doing, and I find it very useful. And you do the same the other way, and I find it's after I stay there for a while, it starts to get, so I can take my head a little bit further. And usually if you do that 3 or 4 times each side, don't rush it. It's moving it to that point and holding it for a while, staying in that position for a while, that brings the loosening of the tight muscles up the sides of your neck, behind your head and your shoulders. And it just actually helps a lot with your posture for a start, but also making sure you don't get a general tightening of all of your back and your shoulders and stuff like that, which can actually bring on a lot of headaches for a lot of people. So yeah, that was a good stretch. I've been stuck in a hunched position in front of my PC for hours now. See if you can find a stretch called a soldier's stance. The V pull that I was showing you, it's like standing at ease. If you're in Boys Brigade, Girls Brigade, Scouts or Guides in the old days, you used to have some parts where you had to all line up and be neat and tidy and things like that. So it's like standing at ease, not at attention, which is where your hands are down each side and your feet are together, but standing at ease, your feet are shoulder width apart and you've got your hands behind you, except instead of holding them loosely, you push downwards and it actually pulls back and down on your thing, and you then pull your head, unlike in actual standing at ease, you then pull your head back. Yes, it gives me a double chin, so that you are pushing your head back that way, not this, pulling it back like this. And what it does is it helps to reduce that curve that you get in here if you're working over your desk all the time. Soldier's stance, I think it is. I'm not sure. It might be soldier's stretch, something like that, but put in there physical therapy or exercise or something like that. You may be able to find something more about it. It is not uncommon, but not all physical therapists or physiotherapists actually use that as a stretch through here. Each of them has different exercises that they work with. But if you find something like that that's helpful, I got to a stage where when I was driving, if I had to turn my head to check that it was clear behind me, although usually I do it this way because we drive on the left side of the road, so the traffic's there. But if you're coming out of a right-hand side of the road car park and you're watching for traffic, I couldn't actually turn my head comfortably far enough to see properly. I would actually turn my body instead of my head because it had got tight and it was very uncomfortable. And it was doing this stretch in a controlled manner, 3 times with my head each way after doing the straight stretch. You then go and do the one where you do the straight stretch and put the head turn into it. And just doing that each day, several times a day, it loosened up so that I don't have a problem with it. But also I had been getting a lot more of this, what used to be called a widow's hump here. it's nowhere near as dominant as it was, which is great. If you spend all your time working at a computer and you're hunched up like this, see what exercises you can find that are helpful with that. Ones that you can do as part of your day. You need to find what works for you. This is not medical advice. This is life advice that I have learnt from. You need to find the version that's proper for you. But I'm really delighted that you found that a good stretch. And I hope that you can find other things like that that will also be helpful. There's a bunch of different things like that. I need to actually try and recall the other ones that I used to do as part of this set of muscle injuries that I had gained over time. Not for you guys, but just for me, because it would be good to get back into them. Oh, do you like my new social rotator here on the screen? It just flips through the various different social sites that I use. It's not a clickable link, but it just shows you what my name is on those different sites. Anyway, let's carry on with reading. We're starting the next chapter, which is chapter 16, A Grand Sleigh Ride. And we still haven't had more of this ghost, have we? For a while, all the Bobbsey children had been begging their parents for a sleigh ride into the country. "The winter will be gone soon, Papa," said Nan. "Won't you take us before the snow is all gone?" Snow. Snow. We've got a word here. Snow. I just have to find the right water bottle. I was just thinking I need a drink of water. So here we go. Snow. Let's all drink our water now. Right. And that was a bit more than just one. Anyway. "You may as well take them, Richard," said Mrs. Bobbsey. "Well, if I do, Mary, you must go along," answered Mr. Bobbsey. "What? That bottle says Mons." "It would if I was drinking it this way." "But no, I'm drinking it this way." And I know my camera is not reversed. And so it was arranged that they should take the ride on the following Saturday, weather permitting. You may well suppose that all of the twins were very anxious about the weather after that, for Mr. Bobbsey said he would not go if it rained or if it snowed very hard. I've forgotten how to swallow properly. Let's try that. Next words. "What does it say in the newspapers?" asked Freddie. "They always know what the weather is going to be." No choking. Yeah, that would be a good idea, wouldn't it? "They always say what the weather's going to be." "Not so far ahead as that," answered his brother. Oh, Freddie was the little one who asked, and Bert said not so far ahead as that. But Friday evening the paper said cold and clear, and sure enough on Saturday morning it was as nice as one could wish. "They always know the weather correctly too," says Coleslaw. That's very tongue-in-cheek or very snarky. Well, over here that's the case. Over here it's like the part of New Zealand. I mean, our weather changes very quickly because it's quite a narrow landmass and ocean for thousands of miles. And so they'll give us a weather forecast and they'll say, "Oh, you've got this wind coming from this direction with rain on..." Oh, I have to answer this. Excuse me. And I'm back. Nothing bad, just a family member letting me know that they're going to be away for a while. So, good to be aware of. But I always, because when you have elderly parents and you get a phone call from somebody in the family or a place that's associated with one of those parents, you take the phone calls. Just because, yeah, it might be something major and you'd feel terrible if you didn't. I used to, 6 months or a year ago, I used to be able to just sort of leave it to go to answer phone unless I felt that something might be urgent because of something that was going on previously. But yeah, no, it was all good. But I'm not going to be rude and say, oh, thank you for calling, get off the phone. No, we're family people round here, including here. You guys are family too, just different family. So where do we get to? Weather. Not as far ahead as that, but Friday evening the paper said cold and clear, and sure enough, on Saturday morning it was as nice as one could wish. From behind masses of thin clouds the sun peeped shyly, lighting up the snow until it shone like huge beds of diamonds. Now, if you're like me and you grew up without snow around you, you wouldn't be used to this idea that snow sparkles, because you only see photographs or illustrations of it and it's just white with shadows. It's just white blob, you know. But if you actually see it in real life and you get the right conditions, it can be quite sparkly. And for me, it does actually make a lot of sense because I grew up by the beach and I'm used to the fact that the sand, depending on where you are and when, sometimes sand sparkles in the same way. If there's enough of it, you need sunglasses unless you want a headache, yes. Just the general brightness of the white, snow blindness. I know somebody who on the sea, the same sort of thing, actually got sunburnt eyes because of the reflection of the sun at their eyes. I think they were using cheap sunglasses which weren't filtering out the part of the sun's rays that do actually cause the sunburn. But the same thing can happen with snow. But the actual sparkliness, where you've got little tiny crystals of snow, where they're just catching the right angle of the light to make it look sparkly. So that's what's happening here. And yeah, the reason I describe things like that is because not everybody comes from somewhere where that's a normal thing. If you grew up in Florida or coastal Hawaii or northern New Zealand or somewhere like that, you probably, and didn't go holidaying where there's lots of snow, you probably were not aware that snow could sparkle. And so you'd hear something like this and go, what on earth are they talking about? It's just a white blob. No, it's not actually. And it can have so many different textures, depending on the sort of conditions when the snow is falling and the conditions afterwards. But let's read the story. It shone like huge beds of diamonds. They were to drive to Dalton, 12 miles away. Mr. Bobbsey had learned that the road to Dalton was in good condition. Now, but words are still hard. Didn't we have the town of Dalton or Dalton in... Was it the first Tom Swift book? Wet snow, dry snow. Yeah, different textures, definitely. Same with sand, wet sand and dry sand. Quite different textures and visual effects. Wasn't the town of Dalton or Dalton? I'm going to say Dalton because I know it is a person's name. In the first Tom Swift book. I wouldn't be surprised if they're referencing a real place, just because they use a lot of the vague, distant background places in these books are based on real, whereas the immediate stuff that the characters are living in, those are usually fictional. So the road to Dalton was in good condition, and the family had friends there who would be pleased to see them and then to have them remain to dinner. By 9:30, the big family sleigh was at the door, with Sam on the front seat driving. Into the sleigh piled the 4 children, and Mr. and Mrs. Bobbsey followed. "Want to sit by Sam and help drive?" said Freddie, and he was lifted over to the desired position. Then off they went with a crack of the whip and jingling of sleigh bells that could be heard a long distance. "Oh, but isn't this just too splendid for anything?" exclaimed Nan, who sat at one side of the seat with her mamma on the other and Flossie between them. "I do love sleigh riding so much. Now, the sleigh ride is not so common for them, but the fact that they can have a sleigh ride is because of the fact that they are still probably using horse and cart when it's not snowy conditions, or the horse would pull a sledge, not a little sled that you sit on, but a big cargo thing for going and fetching things in winter, or you would have someone delivering things. Just depends on if the roads are cleared or not. But in the old days, when we didn't have automobiles so much, you still were using things like horses and carts and carriages. And then when wheeled conveyances wouldn't work because of the snow, you would have a sleigh or a sledge, a big cargo sled, big thing. Anyway, let's carry on. "I do love sleigh riding so much. See me drive," cried Freddie, who held the very end of the reins, the part dangling from Sam's hands. "Well, Freddie, don't let the team run away," said Mr. Bobbsey with a laugh. "I shan't," answered the little fellow soberly. "If they try to run away, I'll whip them good." "You'll never stop them that way," said Bert. "You want to talk gently to them. The reality is that usually you use a whip as a way to get them moving, not to get them to stop. It's kind of like a command, but not a command." On and on they went over the smooth snow. I'm just wondering, let's have some extra water, because I can't remember if when we were talking about the snowbanks I had read it out or not, nor if I'd had a drink from it. So there you go, we've got some bonus sips in there. The horses were fresh and full of spirit, and mile after mile was passed with a speed that pleased all of the twins very much. They passed several other sleighing parties, and every time this was done, the children set up a merry shout, which was sure to call forth an equally merry answer. A large part of the ride was through the country, and often the country folks would come to the doors to see them pass. That means that most of the time in winter they don't get a lot of traffic past these country folk. Once they met a boy on the road, and he asked for a ride to his home 1/2 a mile away. "Yes, jump in," said Mr. Bobbsey, and the boy got in and was taken to his house almost before he knew it. "Much obliged," said he on leaving them. "You're fine people, you are," and he took off his hat at parting. "It was nice to give him a ride," said Nan. "It didn't cost us anything, and he liked it a great deal, I'm sure." "We must never forget to do a kindness when we can, Nan," said her mamma. Before noon, Dalton was reached, and they drove up to the home of Mr. Ramdell. Not Randall, but Ramdell, D-E-L-L. As their friend was named. Immediately, Bob Ramdell, a youth of 16, rushed eagerly out to greet Bert. Now, Bert is 8, because Freddie and Flossie are 4. 16. 4, 8, 16. "I'm glad you've come," he cried. "I've been watching for you for an hour." "'Tisn't noon yet," answered Bert, as all were soon in the house, and Sam drove the sleigh around to the barn. Bob Ramdell had a sister Susie who was almost Nan's age, and a baby brother called Tootsie, although his real name was Alexander. Susie was glad to see Nan and Flossie, and all were soon playing with the baby, who was just old enough to be amusing. "I've got a plan on hand," whispered Bob to Bert just before dinner was served, so it's midday dinner. "I've been wondering if your father will let us carry it out." "What is it?" questioned Bert. "You're not to drive home until late this afternoon. I wonder if your father won't let you go down to Long Lake with me after dinner to see the hockey match." "You're not to drive home." That's not a telling you you're not allowed to. He was talking about the plan was that they were not going to go until later in the day. "Hockey," says Coleslaw. "Yes, it's a hockey match. This is ice hockey, not field hockey. In New Zealand, when you talk about hockey, you're talking about field hockey, which is where you play on grass. So yeah, I am very aware of the fact that both exist, having grown up with one, but also having been aware of the other when I was a little kid in Canada, because it was autumn, winter, and also with Canadian relatives who are really big into hockey. And my mum telling me about it too. I'll tell you that little story in a minute. It's not much of a story, but it's amusing. Come down to the lake with me after dinner to see the hockey match. Hockey Night in Canada tune plays. Is it far from here? About 2 miles. We can drive down in our cutter. Father will let me have the cutter, an old rusher, I'm sure. So the cutter is probably a small sleigh type of thing. It's like you would have a horse and carriage, a horse and gig, a horse and cart. You have different types of ways of getting around. So they're often different sizes, but also different purposes, whether it's people or goods or whatever. So a carriage tends to be enclosed and have a whole lot of seats for people in it, like a coach, a stage coach, that sort of thing. A coach is the shape of the conveyance. The stage coach is one that goes from here to here and then back again. It just does this stage and then you swap to another one. Or it does do other than that, but it goes to certain places, like a bus that stops at certain places. So that's what a stagecoach was. Stagecoach is the way it works, stages, and coach, the type of thing that it is that you're riding in. So a cutter is a small sleigh type thing, probably more like a gig, which is the two-wheeled one, or a phaeton or something like that, where you've got 2 wheels and it's a faster, smaller sort of way of getting around. I don't know the exact things, I just know that they're different from each other for different purposes. Father will let me have the cutter and old rusher, old horse, I guess that's its name, I'm sure. I'll see about it, said Bert. I'd like to see the hockey match very much. As soon as he got the chance, Bert questioned his parent about going. Why not just ask his father? Why does it have to be his parent? I don't know about this, said Mr. Bobbsey slowly. Do you think you 2 boys can be trusted alone with the horse? Don't forget the older one is 16. Oh, yes, Papa. Bob has driven old Rusher many times. You must remember, Rusher used to be a race horse. Is this giving us a little foreshadowing? I can't type in there because it's not selected in the box. I don't know. Rusher used to be a racehorse. That's probably why his name is Rusher. Not Russia, but Rusher. He used to be a racehorse. He may run away with Bob and you. Oh, but that was years ago, Papa. He's too old to run away now. Please say yes. I would say it used to be, yes, Russia used to be the USSR, actually. And before that, it was Russia, before it became the USSR, and a whole lot of other states. Definitely. What was I going to say? If the horse hasn't been out for a run recently, even if he's old, he will still have this urge to run, because racehorses have this inbuilt urge to run. That's why they become good racehorses. So yeah, if he hasn't been let out to have a bit of a run around, even if he's old, it may not be quite so good. Please say yes, Bert continued to plead, and in the end Mr. Bobbsey gave him permission to go to the hockey match. But you must be back before 5 o'clock, said he. We're going to start for home at that time. The dinner was a fine one and tasted especially good to the children after their long ride, but Bert and Bob were impatient to be off and left the moment they had disposed of their pieces of pie. Old Rusher was a black steed which in years gone by had won many a race on the track. He had belonged to a brother to Mr. Ramdell, who had died rather suddenly 2 years before. He was, as Bert had said, rather old, but there was still a good deal of fire left in him, as the boys were soon to discover to their cost. The road to Long Lake was a winding one, up one hill and down another and around a sharp turn where, in years gone by, there had been a sand pit. That's a place where they dig sand, because it's been deposited many, many years ago, to take and use for things like making concrete or whatever. In the best of spirits, the two boys started off, Bob handling the reins like a veteran driver. Bob loved horses, and his one ambition in life was to handle a spanking team, as he called it, a bunch of horses that would run fast together under his control. "Old Russia can go yet," said Bert, who enjoyed the manner in which the black steed stepped out. "He must have been a famous racehorse in his day." "He was," answered Bob. "He won ever so many prizes." The distance to Long Lake was covered almost before... No, Rusher. Because my Kiwi accent, ER at the end. Rusher. The distance to Long Lake was covered almost before Bert knew it. As the hockey game was not yet begun, they spent half an hour in driving over the road that led around the lake. Quite a crowd had gathered, some in sleighs and some on foot, and the surface of the lake was covered with skaters. When the hockey game started, the crowd watched every move with interest. Yes, because this is back in the day where we didn't have indoor generated rinks where we are creating all the conditions and making it freeze. It was a hot game, according to Bert, and when a clever play was made, he applauded as loudly as the rest. When the game was at an end, he was sorry to discover that it was after 4 o'clock. Outdoor hose poured, I imagine. Yes, either if you can, back in the day, you would put water down into an enclosed space. This one, it sounds like it's actually on the lake itself, because it's late enough in winter that it's got quite a thick layer of ice on it. But they would have been dressing the surface of it, not as well as a rink would these days with the Zamboni. And why I have known the word Zamboni and what it is for an incredibly long time in my life, I don't know, because it has absolutely no relevance for the life I live, nor the life I was living when I was a small child. I don't know, it's just a word that stuck. Anyway, "We must get home," he said to Bob. "I promised to be back by 5. "Oh, we'll get back in no time," said Bob. "Remember, Russia has had a good rest." They were soon on the road again, Russia kicking up his heels livelier than before. Oh! For the run down to the lake had merely enabled him to get the stiffness out of his limbs. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Sleighs were on all sides, and as the two boys drove along, the two different sleighing parties passed them. "Hello, Randall," shouted a young man in a cutter. "Got out old Russia, I see. Want a race?" "I think I can beat you," shouted back Bob, and in a moment more, the two cutters were side by side, and each horse and driver doing his best to win. "Oh, Bob, can you hold him?" cried Bert. "To be sure I can," answered Bob. "Just you let me alone and see." "Come on," yelled the stranger. "Come on, or I'll leave you behind in no time." You just got to remember, Bob was 16. So, yeah, very much into this sort of thing. "You'll not leave me behind so quickly," answered Bob. "Go it, Russia, go it," he added to his horse, and the steed flew over the smooth road at a rate of speed that filled Bert with astonishment. And that's the end of that chapter. But it's not the end of the story. Chapter 17, The Race and the Runaway. Bert loved to ride and drive, but it must be confessed that he did not enjoy racing. The road was rather uneven, and he could not help but think what the consequences might be if the cutter should strike a deep hollow or a big stone. "Don't let Russia run away," he said to his friend. "Be careful." His cousin, actually. Bob was by this time having his hands so full that he could not answer. "Steady, Russia, steady," he called out to the steed. "Steady, old boy." But the old racehorse was now warmed up to his work and paid no attention to what was said. On and on he sped until the young man in the other cutter was gradually outdistanced. "Told you I could beat you," flung back Bob. "The race is yours," answered the young man with much disappointment, and then he dropped back. Further back than ever. "Better slacken up, Bob," said Bert. "There's no use in driving so hard now." I can't slacken up," answered Bob. "Steady, Rusher," he called out. "Whoa, old fellow, whoa!" But the old horse did not intend to whoa, and on he flew as fast as his legs would carry him, up the first hill, and then onward toward the turn before mentioned. One would hope there were lots of hills. If not, one would hope there is a big hill that you can turn up the road to go up that hill, because that will help. But we don't think it's going to happen, do we? "Be careful at the turn, Bob," screamed Bert. "Be careful or we'll go over." "Whoa, Rusher," repeated Bob, and pulled on the reins with all his might. The turn where the sandpit had been was now close at hand. Here the road was rather narrow, so they had to drive close to the opening, now more than half filled with drifted snow. Bert clung to the cutter while Bob continued to haul in on the reins. Then came a crash as the cutter hit a hidden stone and drove straight for the sandpit. "Hold on!" cried Bob, and the next instant Bert found himself lying out of the cutter and over the edge of the road. He tried to save himself by clutching at the ice and snow, but it was useless, and in a twinkling he disappeared into the sandpit. Bob followed while Rusher went on more gaily than ever, hauling the overturned cutter after him. Yes, you do need a truck runoff, and in this day and age they would have converted that sandpit into one, but it sounds like it's actually a hole below the edge of the road, unfortunately. Down and down went poor Bert into the deep snow until he thought he was never going to stop. Bob was beside him with both floundered around wildly until almost the bottom of the pit was reached. So it's a little bit like a quarry, but for sand. "Oh, Bob! Oh, Bert, are you hurt?" "I don't know as I am, but what a tumble." "Rusher has run away." I was afraid he'd do that." For a minute the two boys knew not what to do. The deep snow lay all around them, and how to get out of the pit was a serious question. "It's a wonder we weren't smothered," said Bob. "Are you quite sure no bones have been broken?" "Bones broken? Why, Bob, it was like coming down on a big feather bed. I only hope Rusher doesn't do any damage." "So do I." When the boys finally floundered out of the hollow into which they had fallen, they found themselves in snow up to their waists. On all sides of them were the walls of the sandpit, 10 to 15 feet high. "I don't see how we're going to get out of this," said Bert dolefully. "We can't climb out." "We'll have to do it," answered Bob. "Come on, follow me." He led the way through the deep snow to where the walls did not seem to be so high. At one spot the rain had washed down part of the soil. "Let us try and climb up that slope," said the larger boy, and led the way, and Bert followed. It was hard work, and it made Bert pant for breath, for the snow was still up to his waist, and he's only 8 years old. Is it a slurry or snow and rain? I think what they mean is that when it's raining season, the rain had washed down some of the bank at that point, so instead of being more vertical or almost vertical, it had washed it down, so you had more of a slope in that section when it was that season, and now it's got snow on things. Snow was still up to his waist, but both kept on, and in the end they stood on the edge of the sandpit opposite to the side which ran along the road. So now they've got to go all the way around the sandpit to get back to the road. Now we've got to walk around," said Bob, "but that will be easy if we keep to the places where the wind has swept the snow away." At last they stood on the road, and this reached, both struck out for Dalton, less than a mile away. "Emergency snowshoes needed, yes." "I'm afraid I'll catch it if Rusher has smashed up the cutter," said Bob as they hurried along. "We did wrong to race," answered Bert. "It's no use to cry over spilt milk, Bert." "I know that, Bob." "Was the cutter a new one?" "No, but I know Father won't want it smashed up." Much downhearted, the boys kept on walking. Bert had not wanted to race, yet he felt he was guilty for having taken part. Perhaps his father would have to pay for the damage done. "Maybe old Rusher ran right into town and smashed things right and left," he said to his friend. "It would be just like him," sighed Bob. "It'll make an awful bill to pay, won't it?" A little further on they came to where a barn and a wagon shed lined the road. Under the shed stood a horse and cutter. "My gracious me," burst out Bob. Why, is it Russia?" gasped Bert. "It is," shouted his friend. Both boys ran up, and as they did so, a farmer came from the barn. "Oh, Mr. Daly, did you catch our horse?" "I did, Bob," said the farmer. "Had a runaway, eh?" "Yes, sir. Russia threw us both into the old sand pit. I'm ever so glad you caught him. Is the cutter broken?" "Not that I noticed. I knew you must have had a spill out. I saw you going to the lake right after dinner." Both boys inspected the cutter and found that in good condition, outside of a few scratches that did not count. Old Russia was also all right, for which they were thankful. "It was nice of you to stop the horse," said Bert to Farmer Daly. "Oh, I'd do as much for anybody," said the farmer. "That is, if it wasn't too dangerous. Russia wasn't running very fast when I caught him." "He was running fast enough when he threw us out," answered Bob. It did not take the boys long to get into the cutter again. "Don't let him get away on the road home." "Don't let him get away on the road home," sang out Farmer Daly after them. "No fear of that," answered Bob. He was very careful how he let Russia step out. It was growing late, but Bert did not urge him on, so it was 5:30 before the Ramdale house was reached. "You are late after all," said Mr. Bobbsey, rather displeased. "Oh, we've had such an adventure," cried Bert. "What happened to you?" questioned Mrs. Bobbsey quickly. "Russia threw us into a sand pit," answered Bert, and then told the whole story. "You can be thankful that you were not hurt," said his mamma. "I am thankful, mamma." "Russia is still full of go," said Mrs. Ramdale. "I have warned my husband not to let Bob drive him." "Oh, it was the brush with the other cutter that did it," said Bob. "Russia couldn't stand it to let another horse pass him in the road." Shortly after this, goodbyes were said, and Sam brought around the big family sleigh from the barn. Into this the whole Bobbsey family piled, and off they went in the gathering gloom of the short winter day. "I've had a lovely time," called out Nan. "So have I had a lovely time," added little Flossie. "Splendid," came from Freddie. "The baby is awful nice to play with." "I've had a good time too," said Bert. "The hockey game was just the best ever, and so was the drive behind Russia, even if we did get dumped out." The drive back to Lakeport was enjoyed as much as the drive to Dalton in the morning. On the way, the children began to sing, and the voices mingled sweetly with the sounds of the sleigh bells. "I shall not forget this outing in a hurry," said Nan, as she leapt to the step and ran into the house. "I shan't forget it either," said Bert, "but it turned out differently for me from what I thought it would." That's the end of the chapter. Excuse me. Itchy eyelid. Now, if you haven't been here before, I do occasionally, or often, it varies, itch, rub my nose, my eyes, anything else like that, because it's like my senses are turned up to 11 full time. I can't not be itchy. I'm always itchy, but sometimes it will get overwhelming. And if I don't rub it, it will get to the point where I can't even complete a sentence. Oh, hi, Void. It's lovely to have you here. You have been visited by the Sleepy Bot. I'm glad to hear you're feeling sleepy, and I hope you can sleep well tonight. We had your lovely tips video today. Thank you so much for that. And I hope you've been having a lovely evening where you are. That would be really good if you have. Excuse me. Right, we'll carry on. Where are we up to? It's 2:30. I've got half an hour. We've got 11 pages in this chapter. How many more can we do? Where are we up to? Chapter 18. How many are in the book? I'm going to have a look at the table of contents, because I do know it's got a lot of extra stuff at the end of this book, just because it is a Stratemeyer Syndicate book and they promote other books as well. Just finished up a stream, was making progress on a drawing before the fatigue kicked in. Well done on the progress. Sorry about the fatigue, but it happens. Well done you for recognizing it. And Void has redeemed Hydrate for 220 pages. I am going to find one of my one of these words to water bottles to drink from, so that those ones we can see how much I drank. And if you haven't been here before, folks, every time I have a drink of water, you do too, so we all stay hydrated. The words are up there as a drinking game. And Void would also like to remind you that it's a good time to stretch. So time to do the sideways arm and shoulder stretches, because we've already done the hands forward and the hands back. Actually, no, we'll do the hands forward one again. Stretch and let your back hunch, get stretched forward and then back again, and stretch and then back again, and then wiggle your fingers. And it's a bit like the kids' song, Bend and Stretch, Reach for the Stars. Used to be on one of the kids' programs years ago. Thank you for those redeems. Void. I'm just going to do this one again, but I'm going to actually do more of a waist twist as well, instead of just the shoulder stretch. That's good. Thank you. And then wriggle your shoulders down to relax them. So where do we get to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 chapters. I don't think we're going to fit them all in. We'll see. A quarrel in the schoolyard. 3 days after the grand sleighing party to Dalton, Nan came down to breakfast looking very pale and worried. "What's the trouble, Nan?" questioned her mamma. "What has happened?" "Oh, mamma, I scarcely feel like telling," answered Nan. "I'm afraid you'll laugh at me." Excuse me, itchy nose. Carrying on. Oh, I was just wondering why we had the emote bouncing over the pages, because the timer has put the merch link up. Shame de-ink. She's got internalized shame. Oh, yeah, she has. Shame drink. We're going to have a shame drink because she's shaming herself when she shouldn't be. But it was very common. It was part of bringing up kids, as you taught them to do that sort of governing of themselves, feel ashamed when these things are going on, because then the parent doesn't need to step in and say you shouldn't behave that way. That was how the reasoning behind it. They thought it was a good thing at the time. "Oh, Mama, I scarcely feel like telling," answered Nan. "I'm afraid you'll laugh at me." It's the laugh at me bit that's actually the shaming herself. "I fancy you had best tell me," went on Mrs. Bobbsey. "I saw the ghost last night, or rather early this morning." We have a water bottle for this. Ghost. Not where I was expecting it to come from, a chapter called The Quarrel in the Schoolyard. We are drinking to ghost. What? The ghost that I saw, shouted Bert. It's probably one of the adults in the house checking up on the kids in the middle of the night when they happen to get up to go to the loo or get a drink. And so they're in their nightgown. "I think it must have been the same. Anyway, it was about that high," Nan raised her hand to her shoulder, "and all pure white, or sleepwalking." Yes, that's a good thought. It could well be someone sleepwalking. "Oh, Nan," shivered Freddie, "don't want no ghostses." Yeah, we're going to be doing a lot of this one for this chapter by the sound of it. "I don't want to see it," put in Flossie, and edged closer to her mamma, as if fearful the ghost might walk into the dining room that minute. "I do hope you guys are all drinking when I'm drinking. Don't let me be the only person having to rush off to go to the loo." "This is certainly strange," came from Mr. Bobbsey. "Tell us all about it, Nan." "Oh, Papa, you won't laugh." And Nan's face grew very red. "Oh, time for the extractor of Whiffle. Thank you, Shu. Starmatzer Shu has redeemed the extractor of Whiffle. And we have Bold to assume I'm not off to the loo already, says Coleslaw. We have butterflies. Butterflies is the winner. I think she will be happier with this one than Hearts that we had last time, because this one is lavender coloured, or lilac, depending on how you denote the colours. To me, lilac and mauve are more pinkish based purples. Lavender is more blue based purple. I don't know if it actually is, but that's just in my head. And we need to turn on the egg timer. I just have to find it. Egg timer, there it is. It's different than the hearts I usually get. Yes! Although you went through a stage of, even though I know you wanted it, still actually ending up with top knots a number of times. It was amazing how often that was happening at one point. Right, we'll carry on. Try and get it so you can see. Oh, I can hear a helicopter going really low. We've got bad weather coming in for the weekend, so I think everybody's just trying to get everything done and out of the way. They've even said if you've got a trampoline, make sure it's tied down or put inside the one of the buildings or something. We haven't got one, but yeah, flying trampolines can be quite dangerous when it's very windy. They can break windows and all sorts of things. Oh, Papa, you won't laugh. And Nan's face grew very red. I didn't think of it then, but it must have been very funny, she continued. It's not very funny to see a ghost, Nan, said Mrs. Bobbsey. Not quite sure why she said it must have been very funny. I don't mean that. I mean what I did afterward. You see, I was asleep and I woke up all of a sudden, for I thought somebody had passed a hand over my face. When I looked out into the room, the ghost was standing right in front of the dresser. I could see into the glass, and for the minute I thought there were two ghosts. Oh, came from Flossie. Two? Wasn't that simply dreadful? And she crouched closer than ever to her mamma. As I was looking, the ghost moved away toward the window, and then I saw there was but one. I was so scared I couldn't call anybody. At 8 years old, yes, it is still quite easy to get spooked by that sort of thing. I believe you, said Bert. It's awful, isn't it? This is certainly strange, said Mr. Bobbsey with a grave look on his face. What did you do next, Nan? You won't laugh, Papa? She says again. No, I thought of my umbrella. It was resting against the wall close to the bed. I turned over and reached for the umbrella, but it slipped down and made a terrible noise as it struck the floor. Then I flung the covers over my head. What did you want the umbrella for? What did you want the umbrella for? Questioned Freddie in great wonder. 'Twasn't raining. I thought I could punch the ghost with it, faltered Nan. At this, Bert could hold it in no longer, and he set up a shout of laughter, which was instantly repressed by Mr. Bobbsey. Oh, Nan, I'm sorry I laughed, said her twin brother when he could speak, but the idea of you poking at a ghost with an umbrella, it obviously tickles his fancy. He found it funny, is what that phrase means. It was more than you tried to do, said Mr. Bobbsey dryly. Because Bert didn't try to do anything, he just hid under his blankets. That is so. Bert grew red in the face. Did you see the ghost after that? He asked, to hide his confusion. No, not at all, asked Mrs. Bobbsey. No, Mamma, I stayed under the covers for about a minute, just like Bert did, and when I looked, the ghost was gone. I will have to investigate this, said Mr. Bobbsey seriously. It is odd that neither I nor your mamma has seen the ghost. I ain't seen it, said Flossie. Don't want to see it, piped in Freddie. Dinah in the kitchen had heard Nan's story, and she was almost scared to death. That is the strangest thing, she said to Sam when he came for his dinner. What you make of it, eh? Dunno, said Sam. Maybe somebody's gonna die. The matter was talked over by the Bobbsey family several times that day, and Mr. Bobbsey remained awake nearly all of that night on the watch for the ghost. The following night Mrs. Bobbsey watched, and then Dinah took her turn, followed by Sam, who sat in the upper hall in a rocking chair, armed with a club. But the ghost failed to show itself, and after a week the excitement died down once more. "Perhaps you were dreaming, Nan," said Mrs. Bobbsey. "No, I wasn't dreaming, Mamma, and Bert says he wasn't dreaming either." "It is strange. I cannot understand it at all. Do you believe in ghosts, Mamma?" "No, my dear, but I saw something. Perhaps it was only a reflection. Sometimes the street lamps throw strange shadows on the walls through the windows." "It wasn't a shadow, Mamma," said Nan, and there the talk ended, for Mrs. Bobbsey knew not what to say to comfort her daughter. In some way, the news that a ghost had been seen in the Bobbsey house spread throughout the neighborhood, and many came to ask about it. Even the boys and girls talked about it and asked Nan and Bert all manner of questions, the most of which the twins could not answer. The ghost talk, as it was called, gave Danny Rugg a good chance to annoy both Nan and Bert. "Afraid of a ghost? Afraid of a ghost?" he would cry whenever he saw them. "Oh my, but ain't I afraid of a ghost?" "I think it's perfectly dreadful," said Nan one day on returning from school. Her eyes were red, showing that she had been crying. I'm just going to turn off the egg timer. There we go. And turn it back to invisible. And butterflies are flying away. Thank you for redeeming that. True. I just put my cushion back on my chair. There. "I'll ghost him if he yells at us again," said Bert. "I'm not going to stand it, so there." "But what will you do, Bert?" "I'll fight him, that's what I'll do." "Oh, Bert, you mustn't fight. Then he's got to leave you alone, and leave me alone too. If you fight at school, you'll get expelled." "I don't care. I'm going to make him mind his own business," said Bert recklessly. Danny Rugg was particularly sore because he had not been invited to Grace Levine's party. I'm not surprised. If he's a bit rough like that and deliberately provoking of people, why would they want him to be there? Of all the boys in that neighborhood, he was the only one left out, and he fancied it was Nan and Bert's fault. "They don't like me, and they're getting everybody against me," he thought. "I shan't stand it, not me." 2 days later he followed Bert into the schoolyard, in which a large number of boys were playing. "Hello, how's the ghost?" he cried. "Is it still living at your house?" "You be still about that ghost, Danny Rugg," cried Bert, with flashing eyes. "Oh, but wouldn't I like to have a house with a ghost," went on Danny tantalizingly, "and a sister who was afraid of it." "Will you be still or not?" "Why should I be still? You got the ghost, haven't you? And Nan's scared to death of it, isn't she?" "No, she isn't." "Yes, she is, and so are you and all the rest of the family." And then Danny set up his old shout, "Afraid of a ghost, afraid of a ghost." 1, 2. We are definitely racing through the water again. Some of the other boys followed suit, and soon a dozen or more were crying, "Afraid of a ghost," as loudly as they could. Bert grew very pale, and his breath came thickly. He watched Danny, and when he came closer, caught him by the arm. "Let go," cried the big boy roughly. "I want you to stop calling like that." "I shan't stop." "I say you will." Bert had hardly spoken when Danny struck at him and hit him in the arm. Then Bert struck out in return and hit Danny in the chin. A dozen or more blows followed in quick succession. One struck Bert in the eye and blackened that organ. and another reached Danny's nose and made it bleed. Then the two boys clinched and rolled over on the schoolyard pavement. A fight, came from those looking on, and this was taken up on all sides, while many crowded forward to see what was going on. The school principal, Mr. Tetlow, was just entering the school at the time. Hearing the cry, he ran around into the yard. Boys, what does this mean?" he demanded, and forced his way through the crowd to where Bert and Danny lay still, pummeling each other. "Stand up at once and behave yourselves." And reaching down, he caught each by the collar and dragged him to his feet. Oh dear. Chapter 19. Bert's heart sank when he saw that it was the school principal who held him by the collar. No, it's not there. What it was. Held him by the collar. He remembered what Nan had said about fighting and being expelled. "It was Bobbsey's fault," blustered Danny, wiping his bleeding nose on his sleeve. "Pretty sure the school principal knows that Danny's not a particularly well-behaved boy." "No, it wasn't," answered Bert quickly. "It was his fault." "I say it was your fault," shouted Danny. "He started the fight, Mr. Tetlow." "He struck first," went on Bert undauntedly. "He caught me by the arm and wouldn't let me go," came from Danny. "I told him to keep still," explained Bert. "He was calling afraid of a ghost at me, and I don't like it, and he said my sister Nan was afraid of it too." "Both of you, march up to my office," said Mr. Tetlow sternly, "and remain there until I come." "My nose is bleeding," whined Danny. "You may go and wash your nose first," said the principal. With a heart that was exceedingly heavy, Bert entered the school and made his way to the principal's office. No one was there, and he sank onto a chair in the corner. He heard the bells ring and heard the pupils enter the school and go to their various classrooms. "If I'm sent home, what will Mamma and Papa say?" he thought dismally. He'd never yet been sent home for misconduct, and the very idea filled him with nameless dread. His eye hurt him not a little, but to this he just then paid no attention. Black eyes because of all the bruising, the broken blood vessels around the eye. So yes, it would be sore. He was wondering what Mr. Tetlow would have to say when he came. Presently the door opened and Danny shuffled in, a wet and bloody handkerchief held to his nose. He sat down on the opposite side of the office, and for several minutes nothing was said by either of the boys. "I suppose you're going to try and get me into trouble," said Danny at length. "You're trying to get me into trouble," returned Bert. "I didn't start the quarrel, and you know it." "I don't know nothing of the kind, Bert Bobbsey. If you say I started the fight, I'll tell something more about you." "Really?" "Yes, really. What can you tell?" "You know well enough. Mr. Ringley hasn't forgotten about his broken window." "Well, you broke that. I didn't." "Huh. Maybe I can prove that you broke it." "Danny Rugg, what do you mean?" exclaimed Bert. "You know I had nothing to do with that broken window." The big boy was about to say something more in reply when Mr. Tetlow entered the office. "Boys," said he abruptly, "this is a disgraceful affair. I thought both of you knew better than to fight. It is setting a very bad example to the rest of the scholars. I shall have to punish you both severely." Mr. Tetlow paused, and Bert's heart leapt into his throat. What if he should be expelled? The very thought of it made him shiver. "I have made a number of inquiries of the other pupils, and I find that you, Danny, started the quarrel. You raised the cry of afraid of a ghost, when you had no right to do so, and when Bert caught you by the arm and told you to stop, you struck him. Is that true?" He hit me in the chin. I told him to let me go." "He struck me first, Mr. Tetlow," put in Bert. "I'm sure all of the boys will say the same." "Bert, you can go to your classroom. I will talk to you after school this afternoon." Somewhat relieved, Bert left the office and walked to the classroom, where the other pupils eyed him curiously. It was hard work to put his mind on his lessons, but he did his best, for he did not wish to miss any of them and thus make matters worse. No other reference to his eye. "What did the principal do?" whispered the boy who sat next to him. "Hasn't done anything yet," said Bert in return. "It was Danny's fault," went on the boy. "We'll stick by you." At noontime, Bert walked home with Nan feeling very downcast. Still no reference to the black eye. Nan at least should be saying something about it. "Oh, Bert, what made you fight?" said his twin sister. "I told you not to." "I couldn't help it, Nan. He told everybody you were afraid of the ghost." "And what is Mr. Tetlow going to do?" "I don't know. He told me to stay in after school this afternoon, and he wanted to talk with me." "If he expels you, Mamma will never get over it." "I know that, Nan. But I couldn't stand it to have him yelling out afraid of a ghost." After that, Nan said but little, but her thoughts were very, very busy, and by the time they were returning to the school after lunch, her mind was fully made up. To all the school children, the principal's office was a place that usually filled them with awe. Rarely did anyone go there excepting when sent by a teacher because of some infringements of the rules. Nan went to school early that afternoon, and as soon as she had left Bert and the younger twins, she marched bravely to Mr. Tetlow's office and knocked on the door. "Come in," said the principal, who was at his desk looking over some school reports. "If you please, Mr. Tetlow, I came to see you about my brother, Bert Bobbsey," began Nan. Mr. Tetlow looked at her kindly, for he half expected what was coming. "What is it, Nan?" he asked. Oh, Mr. Tetlow, won't you please let Bert off this time? He only did it because Danny said such things about me, and said I was afraid of the ghost and made all the boys call out that we had a ghost at our house. I think somehow that I ought to be punished if he is." True for ghost. There, it was out, and Nan felt the better for it. Her deep brown eyes looked squarely into the eyes of the principal. In spite of himself, Mr. Tetlow was compelled to smile. He knew something of how the Bobbsey twins were devoted to each other. I've just remembered I have an illustration of the twins as a reminder, so you know which is which. I just have to find it, because it's not on this computer, it's on my other. There it is. No, I've already opened it. What are you doing? Save the image. That's the one I want to do. Trying to save it in the wrong place. Put it in the right place. And then I can show you. Pardon me. Save. Pardon me again. There. Now I can close that. Right. And then we can carry on. Let's have an image up here. Oh, let's just do it that way. Add an image. It's just a reminder of which one's which, because it just referenced her hair colour. That's what made me think of it. Because there are two sets of twins, remember, just to confuse us all. Image file. This one here. And pull it up. Someone's been busy doing some artwork for us, you see. That folder, that subfolder. I use subfolders within the subfolders just because, yeah, sometimes it's a bit easier to just keep track of where you're going with something if you do subfolders. So there you go, the Bobbsey twins, the older ones. Now this is the age that they are later in the books. This is not the age they are in this book. This one, they are aged 8. So Nan has brown hair and brown eyes, and Bert has brown hair and brown eyes. And then if we move that up there, we've got Freddie, who has blonde hair and blue eyes, and he's actually 4 at this stage of the series, although later on for the rest of the series, not in this book, but a few books in, he will be 6 years old. And Flossie is also 6 years old, and she also has blonde hair and blue eyes, or light hair and blue eyes is how it was referred to in one of the things. So there you go. Thank you for that illustration to Goriki, actually. Very much appreciated. Just for clarity's sake. Don't forget you can ask to see that if you are forgetting who is who in the story. And we will keep that available for when we do other Bobbsey Twins stories, in case people forget who's who. But we're not going to worry about that with the dog and the cat because of name changes potentially happening with those, because continuity errors. Right. In spite of himself, her deep brown eyes, that's what reminded me, looked squarely into the eyes of the principal. In spite of himself, Mr. Tetlow was compelled to smile. He knew something of how the Bobbsey twins were devoted to each other. "So you think you ought to be punished," he said. Slowly. "Yes, if Bert is, for you see he did it mostly for me. You are a brave sister to come in his behalf, Nan. I shall not punish him very severely." "Oh, thank you for saying that, Mr. Tetlow. It was very wrong of him to fight." "Yes, I told him that. But Danny Rugg did wrong to provoke him. I sincerely trust that both boys forgive each other for what was done. Now you can go." With a lighter heart, Nan left the office. She felt that Bert would not be expelled, and he was not. Instead, Mr. Tetlow made him stay in an hour after school each day that week and write on his slate the sentence, "Fighting is wrong," 100 times. Danny was also kept in and was made to write the sentence just twice as many times. Then Mr. Tetlow made the two boys shake hands and promise to do better in the future. Don't know that that's really going to help make them friends with each other. The punishment was nothing to what Bert had expected, and he stayed in after school willingly, but Danny was very sulky and plotted all manner of evil things against the Bobbseys. Yes, ongoing bad guy in the stories, I think. "He is a very bad boy," said Nan. "If I were you, Bert, I'd have nothing more to do with him." "I don't intend to have anything to do with him," answered her twin brother. "But, Nan, what do you think he meant when he said he'd make trouble about Mr. Ringley's broken window? Do you imagine he'll tell Mr. Ringley I broke it?" "How would he dare when he broke it himself?" burst out Nan. "I think he's persuaded somebody else to lie to corroborate it." His own lie. "I'm sure I don't know, but if he did, what do you suppose Mr. Ringley would do?" "I'm sure I don't know," came helplessly from Nan. "You can't prove that Danny did it, can you?" "No." "That's too bad. I wish the window hadn't been broken." "So do I," said Bert. And there the talk came to an end, for there seemed nothing more to say. And there the story comes to an end for today, because it's the end of the chapter, and it's nearly 3 o'clock. So the next chapter is chapter 20, St. Valentine's Day, which we don't often use the word saint in the title for it anymore. We have 3 more chapters: St. Valentine's Day, the rescue of Snoop the kitten, and the last of the ghost goodnight. But we are not going to read those today. But I am going to take a few minutes to drool over my new craft project, which will be happening, one of my streams coming up soon. Not next stream, because next stream I'm going to be finishing the book. But I'm going to open this up so you can see. Now, when I do the stream, I'm going to use my face camera, which is the best camera I've got, as the one that's looking at the work that I'm doing. And I'm going to use my cat camera as the one for my face, because I'll be gamer postage stamp size. You know the one I mean, where I always talk about it, where you have people have this tiny little camera, like the size of this, over on one side. And yet they go and pay for a multi-$1,000 camera for this tiny little picture, because they think that the only reason they're not popular is because they need more expensive equipment. No, they don't need more expensive equipment. There's some really big name streamers who for a very long time continued to use really basic technology for their streams. And it wasn't the technology that made them popular. It's what you do, who you are, and the people who connect with you. If people find you and they like what you're doing, and they find you again and keep coming back, that's what you want if you're a streamer. it's not people who are only coming to see you because you play a specific game. Most of the people who come to a stream for a game and keep coming back, it's actually not the game. The intro is the game, but the reason they keep coming back is the way they feel when they are in that streamer's space. So I used to watch quite a bit of No Hands NZ streaming, because I didn't really know a lot of other streams. He was good. He was very good. But I used to watch his streams a lot, not because I'm jealous as a book nook. Effectively, it's not the skinny ones that a lot of the book nooks are, but there's a lot of these sort of things around because of the book nooks. So tradition, just to explain for other people, traditionally a book nook is narrow like this and deeper, so you can slide it into a bookshelf between books, and you've got this 3D scene that's built backwards, back in through the space. I love those, but I also like these sort of ones where it's a lot more normal shaped. I love it. As opposed to Snoop the dog or Snoopy the other dog. So this is what's inside. Lots and lots of little bits and pieces. It is not a big model, by the way. So what I was saying was, I'm just going to show you the bits and pieces. This one has a music box. There it is there. And it's got wiring. And the wiring is also for the lighting. I'm trying to think if it's, see if there's a switch. I can see a switch. There's a battery box there for it. So I would watch his games, even though I don't play those like a science experiment. It does indeed. Now, oh, look, I have a craft knife. It even has tweezers and some very pathetic looking scissors, a tiny little flexible ruler, a screwdriver, pointy tweezers, these ones here. I didn't think it was going to have any with them because it just said it had the materials. It didn't say anything about the tools. It won't have the glue. I don't play Fortnite. I don't play Escape from Tarkov. Booger retrieval kit. Yes, Goriki, should I send you a booger retrieval kit? I've got several different sizes here because I bought some to get ready for this. Fortnite, Escape from Tarkov. There's a couple of others that were that sort of thing. That he used to play a lot of before he started doing the RPG ones. Overwatch, actually, I don't know if he did. I can't remember if he played Overwatch or not. He might have done. What's the one where they drop you down into into a space and a team? You have to wait to join the team. I'm not talking Fortnite. This is another one. Because Fortnite's got the bright colours. And you're battling to get to a certain point and you have to try and stay inside the circle, otherwise actually no, don't bother answering that because a lot of them do that. I am no good at those sort of games. I'm no good at shooting. My coordination and my timing is terrible. So there's lots and lots of little bits and pieces. Once upon a time, these would have been called notions. There's beads here, there's little metal collets from things, all sorts of stuff. And these, they are using to form ornaments that are things like lamps and things. And here's some more. We've got some felted grass and a little bit of green. That green block there is actually dark green sponge, which is used like a garden area. There's some fluffy bits for making flowers, all sorts of things. Might have been PUBG. Yes, it was. Player something Battlegrounds. PUBG. That was one of them. There's my warranty information. And I used to often watch him playing these games just because it was something to do. And the reason I kept going back when I couldn't think of anyone else to watch at the time, because I didn't know a lot of other streamers. I knew a few. There were other areas that I was more interested in, but the reason I kept going back to his streams was because he always made me feel welcome, and so did his community. In fact, even now, if I go to one of his streams and he sees me there, like I say hi in general to chat, he will say, Mama Jev, how are you, Mama Jev? Because that's what I used to get called, because PJ used to be referred to as son of Jev. And so there were others in the community that would also all say hi to me. I was always made to feel welcome, even though I never knew anything about the games or how to play them, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, player unknown, Battlegrounds, that's the one. I'm in an Overwatch map and I was going, I better know, but no time to type. You know, that's no problem. So this is the actual physical model pieces. As you can see, it's a type of plywood. You can see the layers, but the browning on the edge is because it's laser cut. And I'm very intrigued to see how they do it. There's also some very, very thin pieces that have different coloured pieces of timber on top. Very, very interesting. Intrigued. This is the weight that I was feeling. And then in here we also have an instruction manual, which is quite extensive. Look, pages and pages of instructions, lots of them, with how to assemble everything, what the different pieces are with their numbers and how many of each piece you've got and what colour they are, and the different materials like the bit of green sponge and the felt and that sort of stuff, threads. That's like a that metal thing there, which I saw in the bag there, is like when you're making cheap necklaces, you put little metal caps on each side of certain types of stones like pearls and other big beads. And they use a lot of those sort of things from craft shops to make other things out of. So it might initially be something, but you use it for something else. Oh, that's had a sticker put over it. They've renumbered. So it's got another layer there. And if I look underneath, that there is over here. So somebody's accidentally in the original print had the numbers labelled wrong, and they've done the same again on this sheet here. And then how to make the flowers. You actually assemble pieces of probably pink tissue paper or ribbon paper that's been flattened out or something like that to make up the flowers. Bits of grass that you poke into the flower pots. All sorts of things. And then how to make up the books. It's a zigzag fold of paper, and then it has a wrapper around the outside as the cover. Now, one of the reasons I really like the look of this one, there's some other ones which are made by folding up a piece of pre-printed paper into a little box, and it's got pictures of books on it. Then you get the ones that are actual book shaped. So one of the reasons I liked the look of this one is it seems to have more actual book shapes, and then you get ones where it's a little folded box, a tiny little folded box to actually make an individual book. And so there's a bunch of those, and then a whole lot of pictures of the different covers. So I was really intrigued with the fact that this one appears to have a lot more actual individual book pieces than the other one that I was going to originally be doing, which was a little slightly cheaper than this. And then it's got artwork to stick on the walls. All sorts of, there's a book stand and shelves, and there's a clock, and there's a chair, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. Oh, look, we've got a little wee witch's broom type thing over here. Candles and a candelabra, well, candlestick. And this one does not have a set of stairs to go upstairs, because Kuriki and I was just showing him pictures of it. My other one, the other one that I was going to get. Oh, and these are the pieces of paper that you use for the book covers and the stickers and everything like that. So I was showing him pictures, and he said, oh, you'd have to be a dwarf or a gnome to fit in there, sort of thing. Why do I have a random single plastic bag with nothing in it? I don't know. Anyway, and because the stairs went up and around and then up again, but there was a piece of floor that went across where the next set of stairs went up, so that the character that inhabits this in your mind would have to be quite short to fit under that piece of roof, which would mean that the stairs would be quite big for them. I like to keep bags like that for coins or other small things, yeah. It's probably for the purposes of putting things that you've already cut out or they've come out of one of the other bags into, because most of these bags that are in the kit holding things are actually like sealed cellophane bags. This this sort of stuff, where you can't seal it again to put things back into them. And I'm guessing that part of it is just so that you can actually contain everything. So one of the things I learnt from doing the Lego flowers, which I still haven't finished, see, this is bags within bags within bags within bags. I will have to go and find my other Ziploc bags. I've got a bunch of them. Those scissors are so dinky. I don't even know that they would cut anything well. They're so funny. Anyway, and also that little craft knife compared with the size of my one. This is a normal size one that takes a normal size blade. I'll turn it around. It's a bit smaller, but it actually, in real life, it looks tiny compared with mine. Because my one's actually isn't as plasticky as most of them are, so therefore it doesn't take up as much room. Anyway, so I'm going to shut the box. Oop, that goes in there too. Shut the box for now so I don't lose any pieces. And I will be doing that. So it won't be next stream, but it's probably going to be the stream after that. Now, if the weather is not too bad, I will not be streaming, because today's Friday, I will not be streaming on my Monday, because I will be going down to the city to spend time there with some friends, one of whom has come in from overseas who really wants to catch up with PJ. I want to catch up with the other friend, the New Zealand one. I don't know the overseas one as well. PJ knows them a lot better than I do, both of them. Well, PJ knows the New Zealand one as much as I do, but you know. Anyway, whatever. So if the weather is compliant, we won't be here on Monday. If the weather is reluctant and that outing is called off, it will be another day that I'm not here. Whether it's a stream day or not, I don't know. We'll find out. But I will let you guys know in the Discord server, and I'll also post to my social media site accounts online, which you can see a range of down here. Those are my usernames that you've been seeing flicking through. Anyway, so much thanks to everybody for hanging out with me for our second to last read of the first Bobbsey Twins books. Look after yourselves, especially if you've got bad weather coming in like we have. Stay hydrated, okay? Be kind to yourself. You need it. You really do need to be kind to yourself, because none of us are kind enough to ourselves. If only there was some kind of graphic of which the model or me being away or what, Goriki. I shall take care. It's been lovely having you all here. Yes, I will save pill bottles for putting things into, including little screws and stuff. There's so many bits and pieces like that I'm going to need a tackle box to keep it sorted. I actually have a little tiny tackle box. It's one just for mini hooks, which I should dig out. It's got other things in it at the minute. As long as the pieces come up high enough to stop things getting distracted from each other, keep things from mixing with each other. Oh, a graphic of the twins. I already showed you the graphic of the twins. Were you not listening? There shall be a test on this afterwards. So these are the twins. These are the Bobbsey Twins. And I am keeping this graphic because we shall use it when we do other Bobbsey Twins books. Okay. The older twins are currently 8. The younger twins are currently 4. Later on in the book series, the older twins will be 12 and will remain 12. And the younger twins will be 6 and will remain 6. There is a slight discrepancy between the age difference in the earlier books compared with the later books when the children are older. So the older twins have brown hair and brown eyes, and I already said thank you to Goriki for making this graphic. And then the younger twins have light hair and blue eyes. There you go. Yes, it is just one of those quirks that somebody at Stratemeyer Syndicate decided it was important to have 2 sets of twins in a book. And yeah, no, not one single set of twins, it's 2 sets of twins. The first few books are just the sort of adventures that are in the story that we've had already. Later on through the series, they become mysteries, but they're not the big whodunit style mysteries of the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew. They're more, I wonder what's going on and why sort of mysteries. More appropriate for the age group of both sets of twins. It may be that the resolving what's going on with the ghost is a trigger for that idea. I do know that later on that it reinforced their desire to do mystery stories because of the popularity of Hardy Boys and the Nancy Drew books. So there you go. That's where that all comes from and where it goes to. And Goriki, thank you very much for that illustration. The Twinses, yes. It is very easy. It is a very easy thought. I even forget sometimes. Definitely. So see you all next time. Hopefully it'll be Monday. If it's not Monday, it'll be next Wednesday. But keep an eye out on my social media posts and in the Discord for whether I'm going to be live or not. Whatever happens, the next stream that I actually do, I'll be finishing off the story unless something major happens to prevent that. And then after that, I'm going to do the anniversary of my first stream by starting crafting my book house.